Well, hello, it's Elaine here from Cerebra's communications team, and I'm really happy today to be joined by my colleague Laura MacDonald. Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Hi. Laura's one of our sleep practitioners, because one of the subjects that Cerebra really focuses on is about sleep. So we fund research into sleep, but we also have our sleep advice service. And as I say, Laura's a sleep practitioner who works as part of that service. So she's going to have a chat today really about all things sleep and about how Cerebra can help and give advice. So how are you today, Laura? Are you well?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. It's nice to see the sun shining finally.
Oh, I was going to say, I can see a glow going on there.
I know you might see it move on as we talk.
I guess anybody who's ever had children or cared for children knows how difficult those first couple of years are, in terms of lack of sleep and a child not settling, not sleeping through. But by and large, that often tends to resolve and the child will settle. But for a lot of the families we support, Laura, I think it's fair to say that these problems can be ongoing and last until it grows older and even into teenage years. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Some of the families that we talk to, are coming to us with their teenagers of, 14, 15 even, and their sleep issues have persisted for their whole life pretty much. And families have just tried to help with that, throughout, and they've just gotten to that point then where, they're at breaking point almost, and they come to us for some support. I find as well, especially with, say, the teenagers, our natural hormones shift when we become a teenager, and that alters our natural sleep cycles. So, sometimes even you think that, you've cracked sleep, and then, that happens, and sometimes families feel like they're at the beginning again. So Cerebra do provide that support and that warmth, to help families through time.
Yeah, brilliant. So what sort of sleep difficulties do you find families tend to experience? What seems to go on?
I find that typically there's sleep issues. One of the biggest ones is difficulty settling. So it could be that, families are trying to encourage the children to bed at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and they might not be falling asleep until perhaps gone midnight, p.m. So you talked about, the issues that you can have when children are really young. And it can take a while to settle a 2 or a 3-year-old to sleep, but for some of these families it can be really extreme. You're talking many hours of that bedtime battle, which is really difficult. Then you have night waking. A lot of families that I talk to, their children might be up every couple of hours or so, and then they need that whole resettling process. Early rising can be a really difficult one as well. So, families, their children might be ready to start the day at 4 or 5 in the morning, which I can't even bear to think about. And then, like the need to sleep with, perhaps a parent as well. It is a big issue for some of our families.
Okay, so I can only imagine really, if this is night after night, week after week, then it will have a huge impact, not just on the child, but on the wider family as well.
Definitely. I find, obviously huge impacts on a child's mental well-being, but especially so on the parents, because like you say, it's that persistent night after night. So many that I talk to, when it gets bedtime, they get that dread, that sinking feeling in their stomach, because they know what's about to happen, and you started that routine with that anxiety, and then your children are potentially feeling that as well, and it's a really difficult cycle.
Yes, and I should imagine, the child's not sleeping, then perhaps they're going to start struggling in school, and sort of relationships suffer as well, and it just must end up being quite fraught for the whole.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because we know from research that sleep can have huge impact. Lack of sleep can have huge impacts on our concentration levels and our memory. And if you think of what you need to be able to do to function at school, you need to have a level of concentration. Or some of the families, that I talk to whose children have perhaps ADHD that already struggle with those concentration levels, and then the lack of sleep on top of that. I find that then that gets into a really awful cycle, because children don't want to go to school because they struggle with the concentrating, or they get in trouble a lot because of that. Then that anxiety at bedtime because they don't want to go to school the next day, so they don't get as much sleep. And, it starts again.
Just sort of goes around in a bit of a vicious circle, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So what can we do to help then, Laura? What help does Cerebra offer?
So we can do several things for families. We've published a sleep guide, which is available on our website, and it's a really full thing that families can look through and just sort of see like how we sleep, why we sleep, and some of the different conditions that affect sleep, and just some of the different things that we would suggest to families. We also offer a sleep tips booklet, which just gives a really brief overview of some of the techniques that we talk to with families. It's a really handy thing to have. It's really like short, simple, and nicely with infographics and things. It's a really handy thing for families to even start as a base if they didn't want to talk to anybody or anything, and just have a little look at, just to sort of see if they wanted to try anything. One of the main services we offer is the one-to-one support for families as well. So I'll talk directly to parents over the phone, and we might have our initial chat where we'll look at all of the different history going on and all of the different things that are happening for that family, because every family is different. Even if you've got two families with a child who's 7 with autism with difficulty settling, you can still find that they have completely different needs and ways that we can look at that sleep issue, so that we really dig deep and try and find the right technique for that family as sort of like a holistic process, I guess. And then we have follow-up calls as well. We typically try and do up to about 3 follow-up calls with that family every month or so after. So it's an ongoing process where we can come up with something together. They can go off and try it to the best of their ability, and we can see how that goes and adapt it for their individual needs. And we also offer workshops in person, which are really great things. I absolutely love doing the workshops. It's really nice to have a group of families in a room when COVID allows, and just to be able to have the support they get from each other is fabulous. To be in a room amongst other people who are in a similar boat, because so many of our families, they'll do the school run and they'll talk to other families and they can feel so alone, which again, really doesn't help with their mental well-being. But yeah, they're amongst people that are in a similar position, and you just see the level of support that they give each other, and it's absolutely wonderful. And since COVID, we've had to adapt the way we do things. So we also now offer online seminars as well, which is providing the same information, but through like Zoom and things like that, just so that families are still getting that support when we're unable to be able to be physically there for them.
Yeah, and I think that's been the thing with COVID, isn't it? Life was already busy and hard enough, but it's really cut back on the amount of contact we've had with people. So I'm sure families can feel quite isolated, and as you say, actually spending time and realizing that it's not just you, that there are other people feeling the same way you do, and sort of picking up tips off other people as well. It can be a huge support. So I'm glad we're able to, I know we've been doing them online, but I'm glad we're able to go back and do them in person.
It is my favourite in person.
I can imagine.
You can't replace that.
No. So what's the best, I'm putting you on the spot now, Laura. What's the best piece of advice you could give somebody, a parent or carer, who are finding their child's sleep challenging?
I suppose, I think what I tend to focus on with the majority of my families, and I find it so important, is for everyone to sort of do as much as they can to focus on keeping bedtime calm. And I think that sounds simple, but it really isn't, because, you know, like I mentioned before, a lot of families are already in this awful cycle of, you know, that anxiety, that knot in your stomach, because, you know, you need your child asleep for 9 o'clock at night and they're taking, you know, 3 hours to fall asleep. You know, you're in for a battle, your stress levels are high, your child's stress levels are high, you know, that cortisol that's running through us means that, you know, our natural sleepy hormones, melatonin, won't be as effective. So everything that I talk about with a family is doing my best to try and reduce that cortisol, that stress level, so that it gives everybody the best chance to relax, and just sort of like, I guess, removing those societal pressures that a lot of families face. You know, your child's 7, so they should be in bed by 9, but if they're not asleep till midnight, don't take that battle. You know, look at putting them to bed at midnight for a while, helping, you know, rebuild that positive association of bedtime, that, you know, it's okay, it's not a massive battle, and then, you know, work to bring that earlier. Don't listen to other people, you know, saying, oh, they should do this or they should do that, you should have a bath at bedtime. If a bath's stressful, don't do it at bedtime. You know, keep that hour before bed as calm as possible for everyone involved. You know, I talk a lot sometimes about massage and things.
Okay.
I like, you know, give your children massages if they like it, if they like that touch, but get them to do it to you as well. You know, as a parent, you deserve that calm and that relaxation as well at that bedtime. And hopefully over time, it stops that feeling of dread so much. And, you know, I find that for a lot of the families that I talk to, that tends to be the biggest difference as well on that first follow-up call, is that there might be no actual changes in sleep at that point, but they've took away all those pressures on themselves and their children, and actually bedtime becomes almost enjoyable.
Yes, instead of being a battle, it becomes almost an enjoyable part of the day, I guess.
Yeah, and then you're on to a winner then. So
yes, well, that's really good advice, thank you. So,
okay,
how can people, if people want to find out more, if they want some of our booklets or guides, or if they want to find out about a course or get in touch with somebody for one-to-one help, what should they do?
I would encourage them to go straight to our website, which is cerebra.org.uk. All of the information is on there from the sleep service. If you go on to how we can help, there's a whole section on the sleep side. That's where you can access, you know, the sleep tips booklet and things. It's also where you can access all the other wonderful guides that Cerebra does, because although we have our own sleep guide, I often refer families to all the other guides that we do that are really wonderful, you know, guides to anxiety, sensory, you know, all of those different things. On our website as well is the details to either email us or call us directly. And then, you know, we can help put you through to the right bit. But that's where you can also access the sleep service. You can fill out a little form. We'll send you out some paperwork to complete that just gives us a bit of an overview of where to begin, you know, just sort of what the main sleep issues are, sleep diary, because they're always really handy, and then, you know, a sleep practitioner will be in touch with the family.
Brilliant. So I guess it's a case of just reassuring people that there is help there is information there, advice there, just to get in touch. Definitely,
yeah, there's always a friendly person on the other end of the phone or email.
Yes. Thank you ever so much, Laura, for spending some time with me today.
Thank you for having me.
And
And
hopefully,
for making it not too scary.
hopefully I'll see you soon one day, you never know.
Brilliant. Thanks, Elaine.
You take care. Bye.
Bye.